All right, so it started 38 years ago when I was born in California. So I was born in Huntington Park, which is close to Huntington Beach, and I lived in California when I was like till I think maybe 12, and it was from Huntington Beach and Redondo and Lomita and Victorville, and then we moved out to Arizona. I think it was like 11 or 12. So a lot of the stuff when I say like, well, where were you raised? I was raised in Arizona because that's when I fully remember being a kid, riding bikes and stuff. There was some stuff in California I remember, but like what I truly remember is being in Arizona. So that's why, I even have it like tattooed on me, like home is Arizona. So I lived in a small town called Bullhead City. It was across the river, the Colorado River, of Laughlin, Nevada, and that was like an hour and a half outside of Las Vegas. So that's where I was a kid, basically. I still have it like on my phone. I always check the weather just to like, it's 80, it's 80 here, but it's 100. It can get like to 130 there too. And I remember when we moved from California to Arizona, we would do it at night, and we would get there like late at night, and it was still hot. And we had our house, it was like a little mobile home, and when we opened the door, it was hotter inside than it was outside. And we finally got swamp coolers, which were great. A swamp cooler is like it uses cold water on the bottom with a fan, so then it like the cool air kind of is there and it pushes it into the house basically. And we all slept in the living room, and we never slept in our rooms because that's where the swamp cooler was at. So I started picking up skateboarding in high school, and we never went to the skate park until after the sun went behind the mountains. Like Bullhead City is like basically a valley of mountains, and we were in the center of it, and like the heat just stayed in that bowl basically. So the perfect time would be like right now, like sun is gone, it's only 110, not 120, and we would go to the park, and that's just what life was like, and you just get used to it, and it's just a part of your life. And what was fun is like when the monsoons would come in, and it would just be raining, and it would be a crazy rain, and we didn't really have seasons there except for like the summer would be hot, and then in the winter time it would just be windy and 60 degrees. And that's where I spent the majority of my childhood. When one of my good friends got a car that changed the game. We were able to go to skate parks outside of our city and actually go around, and like I think that was like some of the most funnest times I've ever had. It was like this core group of friends. We had a car, gas was like 97 cents a gallon, and we were able to go to spots and film us to try and make a skate video. And that was my life in Arizona.
I knew that you were kind of like into skateboarding when we worked together.
Yeah, I still do. The last time I went, I'm just doing my thing, and some like 9 or 10, 11-year-old like, hey, do you want to play skate? And I was like, I sure do, man. Like, I was so thrilled that,
How long had it been since you'd played skate?
Oh God, years, and just some kid. We got all the way to like SKAT on both sides, and I honestly forget who won. I'll just say the kid won to be nice.
That's the safe move.
But like, it was just funny. I'm 37 playing some 11-year-old at skate, and I haven't skated in, not like I used to, like maybe once every 6 months. Yeah, skateboarding was like probably the biggest influence in my life. because up until then, like, I tried soccer, I tried this here and there, but like skateboarding is one-on-one, like, and I met so many cool people that I'm friends with to this day. I'd never go back, like, to live there. There was some stuff that, like, as a kid, you didn't know was happening. You were just oblivious to it all. Like, this one guy, I was just walking home one day, and I actually got spit on by some dude. And he was like, "You fucking spick." I'm like, holy shit. At the time, I didn't know.
You were a kid?
Yeah, I was a kid. I was like 13, 14, 15, whatever, in that time, walking home from school. And looking back at it now, you had no idea what that meant. And then now being older, like, damn. It's like stuff like that you had no idea as a kid, you know, that, like, I still think about it, and that's crazy, you know.
Now, obviously, you understand, like, how terrible that moment was, like, the kind of, like, hate that was, like, infused in that, right? Like, does that change your memory of Bullhead?
In a way. Yeah. I mean, it even got down to, like, where, you know, it was hard for me because here I am, like, I'm half Mexican and half white, right? And I'm in Arizona, and in junior high, I think it was like 8th grade or something, and we had these, like, race wars where there was, like, I think there was a fight at one point where there was like 30 plus people, you know, and it was white and brown kids, right? And, well, I'm in the middle, and I don't speak Spanish, but I'm Mexican.
Does that mean you get out of the fight?
No, and I remember going home, like, crying to my mom, like, dude, what do I do? Like, I can't pick a side because I'm each side. And it's stuff like that, like, looking back at it, like, I don't want my kids to have to deal with that now. So we try and bring them, like, especially like living in Wyoming right now, where we try and include them in everything around here, from, like, the events that they have here, to just get everybody inclusive with them, to, like, I don't know, to, like, try and immerse them in every culture and not just one single type. So that's one thing that I've definitely taken away from living in what a town like that was.
You're in Lander.
Mm-hmm.
And you've only been here since September. But yeah, what's it been like living here so far?
Like, living in Lander or in Wyoming, you know, one day we're in 80-degree weather, and then 40, and then 20, and -10, you know, all within a month. So it goes from, you know, summer to then bam, winter. And then it's cold, but the sun's still out, but you just want to be inside. So cabin fever kind of took in, and this one was like when the height of COVID was happening. And so we were inside already to begin with, and then now to move to a new state, and then now it's like freezing cold. So that was like a shock to me as far as just temperature. But Lander has been awesome. There's a lot of stuff to do outside of the house when the weather's nice. Like, even this year being our first year, once we got out of winter, it just hit all of a sudden. Trees started blooming. The birds were going crazy. Like, in the morning, the birds were so freaking loud, you know, and you're like, what is going on? And it just, like a light switch, everything just blossoms and blooms and flourishes. And it's just like, that's like nature's way of, like, boom, we're in good weather now. And that's what kind of, you know, with the garden and everything happening, like, one of the very first rules that I've learned through doing all of this is, like, just study the landscape for like a year, get through all the 4 seasons, and just seeing the boom in life in this part of time right now in Lander is awesome.
Because you were doing some farming back in Washington,
right?
And that was not your main occupation.
No.
It was just something that you kind of took it upon yourself to learn about and to just do it. And
Right.
you were telling me that you had 30 chickens,
Yeah.
beehives, pigs,
Turkeys.
yeah,
We had ducks for a second.
yeah.
Geese. I mean, and then the garden just got bigger and bigger every year. Like, I don't even know how we did it. And that's what's nuts about it, is like now to go from 3 acres to, 3/4 of an acre. When in Arlington and Washington, when I get home, I would have to check animals, check water, check feed, move chickens. I mean, there's so much stuff, and then get inside the house. Now, as soon as I get home, I just walk through the door and I get flooded with stories like, I pooped today in the toilet. Like, dude, that's awesome,
That did actually happen today.
Yeah, that happened today, and like, okay. And I have to pretend that I have no idea because my wife Fawn, is texting me throughout, he pooped in the toilet, little emoticon like, oh yeah, like, can't believe, like, that's my life now, where I'm excited for another human being to poop in a toilet now.
It sounds like you really went from a place of being very independent and very resourceful in terms of doing all this farm work, and now you're really yearning for something simpler and just.
Yeah. I mean, we still have our chickens, and we have our pet rabbit and stuff, and we have tomatoes and blueberries and stuff, but it's not on the scale that it was of like a market garden and freaking business licenses and permits and that type of stuff that, like, it consumed us, on top of being, having a family and a mortgage and a job. And then we were also foster parents, and I mean, there was so much stuff. I think that's one thing about Wyoming too, is that it's just calm and it's peaceful in a way where there's not a lot of distraction anymore.
Yeah.
I can just be here and be with my kids and not have to worry about so much other stuff. When looking back, I probably should have, like, worried about my kids more than making sure eggs were collected and chickens were moved and pigs were watered. But
Sounds like it was kind of a fresh start almost. Like
Yeah.
you were able to kind of reprioritize a little bit.
yeah,
That's cool.
and a lot of people kind of look at COVID as like a bad thing, but like when I was working from home and then eventually laid off and stuff, like I was at home, like doing computer work and stuff, and I grew so much closer, I felt like, to my wife and my kids, that, I mean, I always think about, like, what could I do to work from home now versus going to a job, and, like, I have to travel an hour to go to work and then do 8 hours and then travel home back. So I leave here, 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I get home at 4:30. I mean, that's 12 hours of just, and 2 hours of that is just travel. And I want to be home. Like, I never realized how much I miss my kids and especially my wife. Like, I love hanging out with my wife more than anything in the world. And it kind of took COVID for me to realize that. And I'm not thankful, but in a way, it's good for me to, I'm just looking at the positive, because it can get negative real fast with a lot of that stuff.
You've touched on this a little bit already, but I'm trying to ask everyone the same set of questions. So I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned like wanting to maybe work from home more, but in terms of just like where you want to see yourself in the future, or what you want life to look like in the near future, is there anything else that you would want for yourself?
Yeah, I just see myself as, like, so I'm a mechanic by trade, and that's been awesome, but I can't do that forever. I know a few mechanics that are older, and just their bodies, they hurt and they walk with a limp, or, a slouch back or whatever, or, they might be, they could miss a finger or something. Like, I know this one guy, he's just, at the end of the day, he hurts, and I don't want that. It's so cliche and stupid. But I know, like, everything has worked out for my wife and I, as far as, like, oh shit, how are we going to pay for one kid? How are we going to pay for 2 kids and a mortgage? How are we going to pay for 3 kids moving out of state? Like, it's all worked out for us, and I felt like it's always been like, this was my plan, like fate, if you want to call it that. And so all the little worries that I have had, like, how are we going to make money and put food on the table, I don't worry about that stuff anymore, because I know it's going to work out, especially being with Fawn. Like, I just know it's going to work out. And even if we live in an RV, somewhere else in the future, it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I do have dreams. Like, I would love to live in Germany. Like, the history of, Europe and stuff in general, but, as being, working on military vehicles, Germany is like a really cool spot. There's a tank museum in the UK. I would love to work there. There's a tank museum in Fort Benning, Georgia. Like, I would die to work there. Like, that is the craziest spot I could ever think of, and it's just right, a few states away. Like, that would be cool. So, I have dreams, but reality right now is making sure my wife is happy, my kids are safe, and they go to great schools, and they're fed, and they have clothes, and they get to do cool stuff that, like, when I was a kid, the best memories I've ever had was camping with my family. So I want to build those memories for them too, and at the same time making sure they have everything I didn't. We didn't have a lot in Arizona, but it was okay at the time. Now I want to make sure that they have everything.